everybody, it's Safi and Marco. Dish out on the movies.
The only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food.
Hope you could understand that.
I don't think so.
Okay, today we're doing, believe it or not, each of ours top 10 movies of 2019. And then we'll be doing 2020 a lot earlier than we did this one for 2019. And I don't know, maybe a couple of other ranking listing things that millennials seem to like a lot.
Safi, how would you rank all of our list videos?
I have no idea, Marco. But this is, I only watched, I think, 27 movies this in 2019, and they were just particularly 2019. So my 10th one is It Chapter 2. Now I listed it in the top 10 because I was looking forward to seeing it, and I knew that they were going to defeat the guy probably, but I think he'll be back. And they had a lot of good actors in it, but I thought they sanitized it. That was my big complaint. But there were so many not good movies in 2019, and I just thought, well, I would put it in my top 10 because I was looking forward to it.
My number 10 is The Fanatic, the John Travolta movie that came out. I originally had this a lot lower. In fact, I think I changed this list a lot from my top 10 worst. Like with 1917, that's no longer in the bottom. Irishman is no longer in the bottom. And I raised The Fanatic a lot higher up because I think that The Fanatic is a really enjoyable movie. Last year was, most of those movies were piles of crap, and they were just terrible, and they lacked effort. And what this movie had was a lot of effort by people who, they were doing something that was stupid. And so it's entertaining to watch because it's like watching a bunch of idiots try to make a serious horror movie, and it just comes off as comical. I mean, you have John Travolta, and he's doing a mentally disabled person impression, and it's just terrible. But that's what makes it good. I would much rather watch The Fanatic than rewatch Avengers Endgame, which is basically just fluff and kiddie stuff. And then you have like It Chapter 2, where like that movie, Safi said it was going to grow up and it was going to be an adult movie. And actually it just got even more babyish than the first one. Yeah. And so you have movies like The Fanatic that normally wouldn't be put in a top 10 list. But for that year, 2019, it's just got to be there by default.
Okay, my number 9 is Dr. Sleep. Admittedly, the book is a lot better than the movie. I did like the main character, the son who's grown up, Danny, and I thought he did a good job, and there was a very ugly, horrible part, and it doesn't seem like that on the face, but it was so awful. But I didn't like the ending. But truthfully, for at least half of the movies on this list, I didn't like the endings. So I can't use that as a criteria. So I did like that they made the movie, and it is a little confusing too because, of course, there's the first movie to this, and then there was one made for TV, and I had to step back for a moment and try to think, where is this one starting off? I got confused because of those two movies. They had the same, I mean, they had two different endings. And so, anyway, but I put it as my number 9.
My number 9 is Dark Phoenix, the new X-Men movie. Well, I mean, the old one, I guess, now. And I wasn't expecting this movie to be good. I just saw it because I thought it would be nice to see the last X-Men movie in theaters that I'll ever see. Because I'm not going to be supporting Disney's babyish bastardization of X-Men. I'm not going to be seeing that in theaters. And I know they're probably not going to cast those people who are most ripe for the roles, like James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender. You know, they're perfect for the parts. And this movie, to be honest, I think a lot of people are being really harsh on it because I think that the movie felt like a TV finale, like a low-level TV show, like you know those Marvel Netflix ones. You know, it felt a lot like a TV finale where it was like there's lots of drama and there's some really good action, but it's hampered by the effects. And I think that there were some cringe, woke things about it, like the Jessica Chastain. She thinks she's so much better than everyone with her politics, but she's giving a terrible performance as the villain. And there's like one part where she's like, words like these are just words created by men to oppress women. And it was like some cringy thing like that, and like words like hate or something. Like, I don't even know. It was so, but I still really liked the movie. It had a lot of good action. It had good performances, especially by Michael Fassbender, who, you know, this is probably Magneto's best movie, which I know pissed off a lot of people. Like the scene with him in the helicopter, the scene with him with all the bullets and the guns and everything, where, yeah, the guns, where he picks up the guns and just shoots the aliens with like a billion different guns at once. Like, that was really cool. And you got to appreciate stuff like that when you have, on the other side of things, you have like Avengers Endgame, which has Hulk not fighting and being just a big baby bitch. And no one wants to see that unless you're like a little 2-year-old or you're a man baby or something, because that's just really childish and not what being a superhero is about.
Okay, my number 8 movie is Parasite. Now, this has been a really painful thing because I liked the movie because it surprised me. First of all, I thought it was a horror movie. I thought Parasite referred to something like a big bug or whatever, like in Tremors or something, or that ant movie. And then I realized Parasite has a double meaning. Parasite can mean people who live off of others, who are like, they're lazy and they don't do their own work and achieve their own goals on their own. They have to sponge off of other people. So I liked it too. It's a foreign film. It's like an ethnographic film, and I've done that kind of almost my entire life. And but the problem, I guess, with it, but it isn't in terms of whether I liked it or not. I didn't like the ending. I didn't like the girl getting killed. I thought that was awful. And then in the end, it just kind of dropped off. But I didn't like that it got an Academy Award for Best Picture, because I don't think it was fair. The reason why is for years, forever, since the beginning, they've had a foreign movie category. So foreign movies could get an Oscar. So all of a sudden, the rules are changed up just for this movie. And I just don't agree with that. If they want to make foreign movies eligible for the Oscars that all the other movies get, then they should eliminate the foreign movie category. But I liked watching a movie about another culture and getting surprised, but I didn't like the ending. But I put it as number 8, and I have moved it down. I did have it way closer to the top. So
my number 8 is Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, because I'm telling you, I'm going to remind you over and over, 2019 was a terrible year for film, and that's the only reason why this movie is on the list. I thought that it had some creative stuff in it. I love the effects. I thought it was kind of an enjoyable movie, and I thought it had a very Halloween-y atmosphere. Obviously the movie's not perfect. It's kind of bad, actually. Like, the fact that it's rated PG-13, the fact that, it's very babyish, once again, like a lot of the other movies that come out last year and this year. But that being said, it's an enjoyable movie, and it was fine, but now that it's gotten worse, because I had this movie higher before, but I dropped it down because they're making a sequel, and I don't think they're going to make it rated R. And so it just pisses me off, the fact that they're continuing this trend where they make PG-13 horror movies. We went to the theater to see the movie, and the majority of the people in the movie theater were adults. And it was the same thing for the Goosebumps baby movie. We went there, saw Goosebumps. Literally, the theater was just full of adults. And it's like, why are you forcing adults to go watch a movie that's made for 13-year-olds? Isn't that why adults go see R-rated movies? Mostly, Safi?
yeah, I was confused, but I liked the movie too. I thought it was it's very simple, but it seems like they did everything they could. They were very creative in doing a lot with a little. And I think more filmmakers who are making bigger movies and making crap movies, they ought to look at these little movies and see how they do it, because I thought they did probably the best they could do with what little they had. Okay, my next movie is number 7. It's Uncut Gems. Now, Marco just loved this movie. Well, I give it props, because I thought Adam Sandler, I've never seen him in such a serious role. And one of the main things, I changed my mind about this. I had it down near the bottom. It's because I despised the ending. I was so shocked. But I guess it's probably what happens when somebody is an addict. And I didn't even realize. I have somebody in the house who's studied drug addiction for like 31 years. And this is not drug addiction, it's gambling addiction. For some reason, I didn't see it. And I thought, that's good. That's a good thing to make a movie about gambling addiction, because it can destroy your life. And he literally destroyed his. I mean, really. So, I thought that was a good thing, and I appreciate his performance, because I've never seen him in a role like that. It's always been funny. And I know there may be other movies he's done that are serious, maybe not that serious, but I've never seen him. I've just seen a lot of funny movies. And so that's why I rated it in the top 10, because of its value in terms of watching somebody who's addicted to gambling and how it destroys your life, and because of Adam Sandler doing a performance that is different than what he's used to doing.
My number 7 is Rambo: Last Blood. And with this movie, obviously, as as I just keep saying over and over, the movies in 2019 were trash. and that's the only reason why this movie's in the top 10. It's an enjoyable film. It was very satisfying, especially the last act, where it's basically just nonstop violence. And its story was pretty bad. I mean, it's pretty mediocre story. It's like, this could have been a good story maybe, but it's just kind of feels like now on this episode of Rambo the television show, Rambo goes up against these types of people and these bad guys, and he's got to go up against him. And then they had the whole thing where at the end of the movie they're trying to like create parallels to the first Rambo movie, and I'm sorry, but there was no parallels to the first one. If this was the last Rambo movie, I would rate it a lot lower too, because I think that it was not a good conclusion to the story, and for that last ending where he's riding off on horseback, it's just, I don't know, it's just really stupid, but I still really enjoyed it, and I thought that it had a lot of great kills. It was a R-rated movie, which I like that more because I'm an adult. I'm not going to put PG-13 movies higher than that. And also with this movie, I think that the actors did good jobs. The actors usually in these crappy action movies are pretty bad, and they're really not that impressive. But the actors in this Rambo movie did a good job for the mediocre script that they had.
Here is my number 6, The Joker. I had first had this out of the top 10. I was not happy with it. Was just like that other one with there's in the uncut gems where somebody gets killed, and I just didn't like that. But it is a very serious, in-depth look of the Joker, and it's different than everybody else's, because I remember in the cartoon, which I really liked a lot, he was like really like a mobster, not on an upper echelon type of monster, but really more of another kind of guy, a fix-it guy, or even lower than that. But this is like somebody who has a mental problem. He takes like 6, I don't know how many different drugs, and then he just flips. And if you've seen the movie, and probably everybody has, because it's a really good performance of somebody who's like flipped out. And Joaquin Phoenix deserved the Oscar, I thought. And I put it number 6 because I didn't want to give it a way high review rating, but it does deserve to be in the top 10, I think. And I couldn't believe that this movie could be any darker than the one where Heath Ledger played the Joker, or he could play any more of a dark Joker than Heath Ledger. That was kind of freaky. So the only thing that I really hated, which I just said about the murder, and I'm talking about when he shot Robert De Niro in the head on TV. I just hated that. I didn't like that at all. So, but that was kind of like the final sealing of his fate. So 6 is Joker for me.
My number 6 is Joker. And, well, I'll say this. I used to like the movie a lot more. I think that it's... I really don't have any... It's hard to say because I don't really like this movie that much anymore. But I don't really like any movies of 2019 anymore. But back when I liked it, I thought it was good because of the art. It's a very colorful movie. It's very engaging, but I mean, unfortunately, I watched Taxi Driver last night for some reason, and it's just so terrible because this movie is just a complete rip-off of Taxi Driver, which I think is just despicable. And I think that if you want to watch the good movie, just watch Taxi Driver. I mean, I had only seen Taxi Driver once, and so I kind of thought like people are over exaggerating it, and it's not really that bad, but it is. It is that bad. And I think the music is good. It's at number 6 because there's no way that a movie like this that plagiarized another movie is going to enter the top 5. And in terms of being about the Joker, I mean, Heath Ledger's Joker is much better. And also, the fact that we haven't gotten a sequel announcement yet just shows that, like I don't like that either. It's like 90% of this movie wasn't even Joker. It was just this mentally ill taxi driver ripoff. And it was basically Taxi Driver in 2019. And so, like, we need a sequel where it's, like, actually about the Joker. But still, this was a good movie, I guess. But not anymore. I mean, I don't like it anymore. There's nothing really to like about it. I mean, it's an adult movie, I guess you'd say. It's rated R, that's good. It's got violence. It doesn't have any nudity or anything like that. But neither does Taxi Driver. But it's just not a good movie, and it's funny because with every movie on this list, I have to continuously say, this movie is not quality, because personally, when I think of like top 10 lists, I think of like, that top 10 should be like elite level movies that you're talking about, like movies that you're like, oh, this is really hard because these movies are all so good. But with this movie, it's like, it could have gone anywhere on the list. But all the other movies, they're just equally bad. They're just all mediocre.
Okay, so...
What's your number 5, Safi?
Oh, here it is. I'm sorry. I rewrote this and I wrote it weird. Anyway, my number 5 is a movie that probably hardly any of you would be familiar with. And I thought it was a very good story, and because it was unusual. It wasn't a formula story. And that's what I really liked. It was a Hallmark movie, and it's called Timeless Love. And it's about this woman, and we already reviewed it last year as a Christmas movie. It's about a woman who goes through a coma. And when she's in the coma, she's dreaming, or whatever you would call it, that she has this family, she has children, she's married, they live a very happy life. And when she wakes up, the dream was so real. She doesn't believe that it never happened. And she was, I don't know, I can't remember how long, but a few years she was out. And so what happens is, she just can't believe it. She's so disturbed and upset that this isn't real. She knows all their names, like where the couple met and where they got the names for the kids. I mean, all these little details. And it didn't exist. And she was just, it was disturbing. It was great to wake up. She's out of the coma. She survived. She looks great. She doesn't have any long-term damage to her body. But this part, I mean, she's going home to live with her family, and she's already had a family, according to her. And so she goes and gets a job, not something that's really, I can't even remember what she does. I wanted to watch it again, but you can't watch it right now. You have to wait till January or something. But anyway, she goes to work for this photographer. Guess who the photographer is? Her future husband. And she's like, oh my God, how could this be? And then he talks about things. She knows all about it. Everything, like his family, his parents, everything. So it's a really good movie. They get together. It's a romance movie, but it's not like all of the others. The problem with Lifetime now and Hallmark is they make too many movies. So it's more of quantity instead of quality. And this is one of their quality movies. And the reason why I put it at 5, because it's sandwiched in two violent movies. And violent, Joker isn't heavily violent. It is some violence, but it's a feel-good, happy movie. They almost don't get together. He's like, when he finds out she's already knew him, and he thinks she's stalking her, or some weird stuff. And they almost don't get together, but it works out. But it's just a really good movie. I really recommend it because it's not so dark. So that's number 5, Timeless Love.
My number 5 is Uncut Gems. This is another movie where I don't like it as much anymore. Because I think that the movie is really effective the first time you watch it. It really works more as an experience than an actual movie, because the movie is very repetitive. It drags on, but the same stuff is happening. It's very frustrating. It's very I don't know. It's a good movie. I mean, it's okay. It's got its moments. I still think that the stuff near the end is really good. I do have to admit, the ending I'm not a fan of anymore as well. I think that it was a complete slap in the face to kill off the character, just for the shock of it, and then they kill off the other character too. I thought that was really stupid, and it completely just shat all over the final act, where it's like a redemption arc, and then you have the fact that the ending is sort of ambiguous, or sort of like made me a little weirded out, because they zoomed in on the bullet wound, and then inside of the bullet wound they made it look like the inside of the gym, and so to me it was like trying to say that the gym helped him survive or something. And I thought that would have been better, because the movie is just one long spiral downhill. And it's just not that entertaining. I'm not a fan of their other movie that they made either, but I do think that this one is better still, because I think Adam Sandler does give an Oscar-worthy performance.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that the Oscars didn't even nominate him just shows the fact that, you want to talk about all this BS. Oh, the Oscars are racist. The Oscars are sexist. Excuse me. But what about the Oscars' discrimination towards Adam Sandler with this movie? Because there was one voter who was saying, "Oh yeah, it's cool. He had a good movie. When he makes a second good movie, we'll nominate him then." and it's that's
stupid.
That's really retarded.
I don't like it at all.
And it's total discrimination. And so it's why don't they make some sort of a hashtag talking about Adam Sandler? It's just, but the movie itself, it's okay. I would recommend it. It's on Netflix. But yeah, it's totally not that good anymore now that I've sat with it, which is a trend on movies on this list.
Okay, my number 4 movie is The Irishman. This starred Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, and Joe Pesci. And who would not want to watch a movie with those 3 very well-known, iconic actors acting together? And what was unbelievable about this movie, the most unbelievable thing for me, is when I grew up, Jimmy Hoffa was viewed as a criminal. He was a horrible person associated with the mob, and yeah, that was a true thing. And they showed him in such a positive light. I mean, my parents, I wish they would have been alive to see it, because they would have freaked out. It's just unbelievable. And I just thought Al Pacino, he had so much energy. He's older. I think he's 70 or more, older than 70. I'm not sure. I looked it up a while back because I couldn't believe it. He just did such an excellent job. He's a really good actor. They're all 3 good. Al Pacino, I don't know what he does. He just gets totally into the character. I mean, turns into him. And without really changing a lot of his appearance. And he certainly didn't change his age. I know they did that thing where they made him look younger in just their looks or something, but he didn't even need that because he had so much energy. He had more energy than Robert De Niro. And Joe Pesci was kind of, I'm old, I'm a grandpa, I love grandchildren, I don't really need to do this, and he kind of went along. And I'm not saying he didn't act, but I'm just saying that Al Pacino had the most energy, and so I appreciated his performance. Well, they're all their performances, his especially, and I appreciate the fact that they could make Jimmy Hoffa look like a good character, even though he was kind of a problem with the mob and all that. But it made him look good. I mean, if you can make Jimmy Hoffa look good, then that's a good movie. So,
my number 4 is The Irishman. Now, before I get into why, the thing that Safi said is just complete BS because, you know, he really was a hero of that time period, and especially if you watch the Jack Nicholson movie, where they show all the heroic things that he did, and that movie sort of makes him into a hero as well, but he still had issues and wasn't a complete hero, and this movie shows that too. I mean, the movie doesn't act like he's the best person in the movie, but in terms of, like, you know, all the other characters in the movie are these evil gangsters who just kill people all the time, and then you have Al Pacino, and he's not as evil as them, and so that was the point of that. And I think that the movie is really good. It's gotten completely opposite with this movie because I think it's very enjoyable. I think that the performances are all really good. I think Robert De Niro's performance is the least good because I think, honestly, that he was just kind of, what would you call it, phoning it in. I thought that his performance was pretty, his performance was the least energetic to me. I mean, like, the stuff at the beginning with, like, him as a, quote, young man type of guy, like, you know, he didn't really seem young at all. And so that did not convince me with the whole aging thing. I didn't like that technology stuff. I didn't think it was that good. And then Al Pacino, he gave an Oscar-worthy performance. I thought he was a standout of the film, and the movie immediately got better when he became a part of the film. And then Joe Pesci did a pretty good job, but honestly, I would have just preferred to see regular Joe Pesci. I mean, him being really quiet and cold, you know, it's just not that effective because the movie itself is so long and so slow that it makes it kind of feel like he's just he makes the movie slower because his performance is so quiet, and it's like, you know, I want to fall asleep because of, but still I really like the movie. I think the movie is really entertaining, and I've already rewatched it a couple of times, and so that should show it's a good movie if you want to rewatch it again and again. So.
Okay, my number 3 movie is Ford versus Ferrari. Now, if anybody even knows me, which they don't, especially about racing, I don't like car racing. My parents used to take me to the car races in Kansas City, and this is when it was even more unsafe than it is now in terms of the crowd, because they didn't have anything up. Anything flew up into the crowd, you better not be in the way. And it was scary for me. I did not like it at all, just because of the crashes and the noise. I just did not like it. And for some reason, they loved it. And if you knew them, you would be shocked. But this movie was very well done. It was very complete. It had every component you could ask for. And I thought Christian Bale and Matt Damon, I loved their friendship. and these are based on true things that happened in history. And I thought they gave excellent performances. And Christian Bale, I think that man can do anything. He does so well in everything any project he does. He's really, really good. And but anyway, if this movie could let it be good enough for me to enjoy it and put it on my top 10, and I know 2019 was not that great of a year for movies, but this movie would be good any year. This is a very good movie. If this could make me like the movie, their performances, and what a complete movie it was, it's pretty good.
Safi.
So, I thought it was very solid. Okay.
Look at the way you spelled Christian Bale. Look. Oh my God. Look. She put a Bayle in Christian Bale.
I thought that's how you spelled his name. It's not Bail.
It's Bale.
Oh. Sorry.
My number 3 is Ford v Ferrari. This movie was really good. It was very enjoyable. I do think that it would be better to watch this movie in theaters. Like, I think that it loses a bit of its quality when you just watch it at home on the TV screen or on your phone or computer or whatever.
Yeah.
I think that it really is a theater movie. That being said, it's very entertaining. It's got a great cast of people. Mm-hmm. It's an entertaining movie. I mean, these are the types of movies that I like, where it's like a historical movie, and it's like a really good story, but it's like also actually happened, and it's very well done. And I don't like racing or NASCAR. I think that those are stupid. But this movie was really entertaining because the way that he shot the action sequences with the cars, it was really well shot, and making it like feel really, really like you're in the car. And also Christian Bale Christian Bale gave a great performance. He did a good job. Matt Damon did a good job. I thought that it was sad because John Bernthal was in the movie, and then they kind of like push him out of the movie where he's just not in it anymore, basically. I thought that was kind of disappointing, but overall it's a very good movie. I would highly recommend it. It's fun, it's entertaining. The one flaw I do have with it, though, is the music. They have like one song that they use like the entire movie, like over and over and over again, and it gets really old. Like it just like it like with the Ghostbusters theme song, like didn't they play that theme just like once or twice in the movie? Do you remember?
Yeah, maybe like when something really, really big was happening.
And so like yeah, you have that, but then with this movie, it's like after like every single scene, it's like, oh, gotta play that song, gotta play that song, gotta play that song. And then even in the end credits when the movie's over, oh, gotta play that song now. I thought that was really annoying. And it's not a very good song, and it just does not fit the movie, because the movie feels very modern, even though it takes place in the 1960s, was it, Safi?
I think so.
Even though it took place back then, years and years ago, it had a very modern feel to it. And so that music just completely takes you out of the movie.
My number 2 movie is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And I didn't really know what this was about, except that Marco said that it was about Charlie Manson, or that was in it. And I thought, oh no, I don't want to see it, because I thought it was going to be the usual. But it really surprised me because it was a it's called Once Upon a Time. Well, that's at the beginning of a fairy tale. This is a fairy tale because what they do with that murder is they make it do something it didn't do. And it made me so happy because and anybody who watched it and lived during the time, I don't think people who didn't live during the time understood how impactful this bunch of murders and these people who did it, how it was. I mean, we didn't have all these different news sources, and and something like this, just like the blood they spilled, it spilled out all over the front pages, and it spilled out onto the TV on only the three networks that you could get on TV in black and white, and it was just I guess maybe color by then, but it was I was so happy that they did what they did. And then they had the side story with an aging film star, which was Leo DiCaprio, and they did all the stuff with that. I thought that was really good. People aren't really, the public, I don't know about now, but they weren't really aware of that kind of thing when the person got older and they started just sticking them into certain roles, and then they couldn't get any roles at all or whatever. And it was so funny. Brad Pitt, he is from Missouri. He's from the Springfield, Missouri area, which is southern Missouri. And he was just like, and I lived in Missouri. I lived in Kansas City, but then when I went to middle school and high school, I lived in the small town called Lexington on the eastern side of Kansas City. And he was like every boy I grew up with. And I mean, he had the drawl, and and he was so strong. And then when the trained pit bull, that was amazing dog training, and it was outstanding. And so anyway, I know people get bored. They don't like, they're driving up and down the street and they play this music. Well, that's the way it was. That's all what people did. And this is Hollywood. They drove up and down the street. You had AM radio, and in Kansas City it was WHB. They had top 10 every week. And with each new week, each top 10 list was in a different color. Like one week it's purple. But that's what you did. You turned on the radio all the time and you played the top 10 music, and they played Paul Revere and the Raiders, which, oh my God, I love that music, and I put it on my playlist. I put the album from the movie on my playlist. So it has all these songs I used to listen to. So anyway, I just loved it just because it was a fairy tale. That didn't happen. Those people got killed. They did not live. And the bad people got to run around, and they got arrested. And it made me realize, if they want, whoever's left, not very many of them, because they're old and they get sick. And if anybody's left, no, do not let them out of prison. They don't deserve it. And I have been thinking, positively about, oh, well, it happened a long time ago. No. After I saw the movie, I said, slam the door, lock it up, and don't ever let them out. And let them die in prison, because they deserved it. But I put it in number 2. Okay?
My number 2 is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I personally think, in terms of letting or not letting them out of prison, I think that they should put Roman Polanski in prison with them and put them in a cage together and let them battle each other to the death. I think that would be a fitting conclusion to their story. and maybe in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood Part 2 by Quentin Tarantino. But this movie, I think, was really good. A lot of people say it's overrated
No.
People only say it's good because Tarantino made it. Let me tell you something. I don't even like Quentin Tarantino movies, and I don't really like him either. Well, well, what I mean by that is I don't like his style of movies where he hodgepodges movies together. But this movie, it really feels like it was meant to be that way. It feels like it was made by someone who has a thorough understanding of the history and of the movies from back then, and so it feels like it's from back then. Because it's something else is the fact that every historical movie and TV show, what do they do, Safi?
They dim the color?
Yeah, they dim the color. They suck the color out of everything. They make everything look black and white. They make everything look ugly and dark and gross. In this movie, instead of doing that, it basically amps up the color to make it look really colorful. And it's like, yeah, that's the way to go. You know, don't suck the color out of the film because it's a history movie. Like, that just really is a huge turn-off and pet peeve. And then also it has great performances, once again. And it's very satisfying. You have to get used to the pace of it, though. And I think that, you know, also it's not really that great in terms of movies of all time. But for this year, it's the second best movie of the year because it also has a rewatchable value to it. Like, but I want to wait though to rewatch it. I want to watch the extended edition first, and then rewatch the regular version maybe. So yeah.
Okay, my number one movie from 2019 is 1917. It's very interesting. I did not want to watch this. It's a war movie, you know, I'm told. It's about World War One, which, well, we don't see that many, haven't seen that many movies about World War One, and their manner of fighting this war was trenches, dugout trenches, and that gas, mustard gas. And Marco convinced me to watch it because, you know, I don't watch that many movies, and the other thing is I've seen so many war movies. I don't want to watch war movies anymore. I don't want to be in a war. I don't want to, you know, I'm sick of war. War. That's what we've been dealing with for decades. And I'm over it. But also, I've just seen so many, and I'm sick of it. I'm sick of this Hollywoodizing war, which makes it look like it's, oh, everything's perfect, and or, you know, it just over dramatizes certain things that aren't important and maybe should make other things are more important. This movie was really good. It was just so, the cinematography and just the fact there wasn't a lot of deep characterization, but there was enough to make it solid. And I just love the way the hero of the movie, the man last standing, I should say, the commitment, the sacrifice, the duty, the honor, the bravery, the sacrifices, so all these people could live. And it was just, it's a really good something to see in terms of other things that we see nowadays for people that are horrible. But you can see this is what they did. They did all this. They sacrificed everything to get the job done. And his job was just to tell what was really going on and to stand up for himself and stick to his guns. And he had a little help on the way. I mean, in terms of, you know, people in authority kind of helping him to get through. But it was just, and the cinematography, the filming, it was just really, really, really well done. So I really recommend this, and I'm glad that Marco
Forced you to watch it.
Forced me and convinced me to watch it because you know, I'm just done with war and war movies. I'm sick of Hollywood, the old kind, you know, the singing and dancing and God.
That's back when movies were good, Safi.
Well, there's that Holiday Inn, or the one right after the war, and what for a Christmas movie. But I just, it's a really good movie, really good. So
My number one is Honey Boy. just, just kidding about that one. Because no, my number one is actually 1917, which is even more hilarious because I already made my top 10 worst movies, and the 1917 I think was on the dishonorable mentions. So that's pretty funny. But what happened was, it's been like almost a year, and what happens is the rewatch value. I got an itch to rewatch 1917, and I rewatched it, and I realized you really got to turn your brain off to like the to like the movie, in terms of the fact of you can ignore all of the logic, like the fact that they're rescuing the enemy soldier, and the fact that it's just so predictable the way that it's like, oh, of course, his friend really wants to do it, and he doesn't, and so then his friend gets killed, and then he has to take over, and he does it all for his friend, and that's really like cliche, but it's so enjoyable. It's really, really, really good, and it's an actual good movie. I mean, and another thing too is, like, if you take the war movie aspect out of it, it's an even more good movie, because the movie relies on the art, which is really good. It relies on the music, which is really good, and so all that stuff really amounts to a great movie. I would say probably the only flaw with it is the fact that it has all of those logic problems. I think the movie, it could have been a lot better, honestly, could have all of the other movies on this list. But out of all the movies this year, I would say this deserves to be in the number one spot. And it deserved, pretty much, this movie, it deserved to win Best Picture for sure. I mean, there's no way that Parasite deserved to win Best Picture over this movie. I mean, this movie has actual plot to it. It has an actual plot that makes sense in comparison. It has a better ending. It has better acting. It has better music. It has better everything, pretty much. And I think that, people don't even talk about 1917 anymore, and it's only been like a year. And I think that that's unfortunate, because as a war movie, it really is one of the best, because it's really not like a true war movie. Because if it was a war movie, I would probably hate it, because I don't like war movies at all. And so, yeah, it really deserves to be number one. And that's it for my top 10 movies of 2019. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you comment, if you have something to say, and then subscribe to our channel. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye. Well, that was my top 10, and I hope you liked it. And subscribe, like our channel, make a comment, whatever you feel like doing. What were your favorite movies of the year 2019? Pretty soon, and very soon, we'll be doing 2020. And, oh boy, which has been a really weird movie.
Well, well, that's because you haven't watched any, and I'll have to force you to watch a couple more, and then you're not even going to like them.
Oh, great.
Because I didn't like them either.
Okay.
Goodbye.
Bye.